And then Idaeus, guider of the mules, discerned this grace of men, and spake afraid to Priamus. Beware, Dardanides, our states ask counsel. I discern the dangerous excess of some man near us. Now I fear we perish. Is it best to fly, or kiss his knees and ask his ruth of men distressed? Is it best to fly, or kiss his knees and ask his ruth of men distressed? Confusion struck the king. Cold fear extremely quenched his veins. Upright upon his languishing head his hair stood, and the chains of strong amaze bound all his powers, to both which then came near the prince-turned deity, took his hand, and thus bespake the peer. The prince-turned deity took his hand, and thus bespake the peer. Latona, at no hand will I bide. And thus bespake the peer. To what place, father? To what place, father, driven? To what place, father, drivest thou out? To what place, father, drivest thou out through solitary night when others sleep? Bespake the peer. To what place, father, drivest thou out through solitary night when others sleep? Give not the Greeks sufficient cause of fright to these late travels, being so near and such vowed enemies, of all which, if all this load any should cast his eyes on thy adventures, what would then thy mind esteem thy state, thyself old and thy follower old? Give not the Greeks sufficient cause of fright to these late travels, being so near and such vowed enemies, of all which, if all this load should any cast his eyes on thy adventures, what would then thy mind esteem thy state, thyself old and thy follower old? Resistance could not rate at any value. As for me, be sure I mind no harm to thy grave person, but against the hurt of others arm. Be sure I mind no harm to thy great person, but against the hurt of others arm. Mine own loved father did not get a greater love in me to his good than thou. Greater love in me to his good than get a greater love in me than his good. Mine own father did not get a greater love in me to his good than thou dost to thine. Love in me to his good than thou dost to thine. He answered, Come, loved daughters, sit by me. He answered, The degree of danger in my course, fair son, is nothing less. The degree of danger in my course, fair son, is nothing less than that thou urgest, but some God's fair hand puts in for my safe state, that sends so sweet a guardian to this so stern a time of night and danger as thyself. That all grace in his prime of body and of beauty showest, all answered with a mind so knowing that it cannot be of some but blessed kind thou art descended. Not untrue, said Hermes, thy conceit in all this holds. Hold on a sec. Forgot to turn on my trackpad thing here. if it wants to turn on. All right. This thing. Oh, that's right. I know why this isn't working. It's because I paired it to a different machine. And now, of course, when I want to pair it back to this one, it does not want to do it. There we go. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I got this trackpad thing because when I use my mouse, it kind of shows up in the recording when you're scraping it around the table and picking it up and clicking it. Of night and danger as thyself, that all grace in his prime of body and of beauty, as thyself, as all of night and danger as thyself, that all grace in his prime, that all grace in his prime of body and of beauty showest all, and showest, of body and of beauty showest, all answered with a mind so knowing that it cannot be but of some blessed kind, that it cannot be but of some blessed kind, so knowing that it cannot be but of some blessed kind thou art descended. Of some blessed kind thou art descended. Not untrue, said Hermes. Thy conceit in all this holds. But further truth relate, if of such if of such weight as I conceive thy carriage be, and that thy care conveys thy goods of most price to more guard, and that thy care conveys thy goods of most price to more guard, or go ye all your ways frighted from holy Iliad, so excellent a son as thou hast, being your special strength fallen to destruction, when no holy Iliad, so excellent a son as thou hast, being your special strength fallen to destruction, being your special strength fallen to destruction, whom no Greek bettered for his fight. Oh, what art thou, said he, most worthy youth, of what race born, that thou recounts to me my wretched sons, of what most worthy youth, of what race born, that thus recounts to me my wretched son's death with such truth? My wretched son's death with such truth. Now, father, he replied, you tempt me far in wondering how the death was signified of your divine son to a man so mere a stranger here as you hold me. But I am one that oft have seen him bear his person like a god in field. And when in heaps he slew the Greeks, all routed to their fleet, his so victorious view made me admire, not feel his hand, because Iacides, incensed, admitted not our fight, myself being of access to his high person, serving him, and both to Ilion in one ship sailed. Besides, by birth, sailed. Besides, by birth I breathe a myrmidon. Polyctor, called the rich, my sire declined. My sire declined with age like you. Polyctor, called the rich, my sire declined with age like you. Called the rich, my sire. Polyctor, called the rich, my sire, declined with age like you. 6 sons he hath, and me a 7th, and all those 6 live now in Phthia, since all casting lots, my chance did only fall to follow hither. All casting lots, my chance did only fall to follow hither. Now for a walk I left my general. Tomorrow all the sunburned Greeks will circle Troy with arms. The princes rage to be withheld so idly. Your alarms not given half enough. Circle Troy with arms. The princes rage to be withheld so idly. Your alarms not given half hot enough, they think, and contain no more. They think, and can contain no more. And can contain no more. He answered, If you serve the prince, let me be bold to implore this grace of thee, and tell me true. Lies. Okay. Come, loved daughter. Bold to implore this grace of thee, and tell me, if you serve the prince, let me be bold to implore this grace of thee, and tell me true. Lies Hector here at fleet, or have the dogs his flesh? He said, Nor dogs, nor fowl have yet touched at his person. Still he lies at fleet, and in the tent of our great captain, who indeed is much too negligent of his fit usage. But though now 12 days have spent their heat on his cold body, neither worms nor any taint have eat, nor putrefaction perished it. Yet ever, when the morn lifts up her divine light from the sea, unmercifully borne about lifts her divine light from the sea, unmercifully borne about Patroclus' sepulchre, it bears his friend's disdain, bound to his chariot. But no fits of further outrage reign in his distemper. You would muse to see how deep a dew even steeps the body, all the blood washed off, no slenderest show of gore or quiture, but his wound. All the blood washed off, no slenderest show of gore or quiture, but his wounds all closed, though many were opened about him. Such a love the blessed immortals bear, even dead. Such a love the blessed immortals bear, even dead, to thy dear son, because his life showed love to them. He joyful answered, O my son, it is a grace supreme in any man to serve the gods. And I must needs say this, for no cause having season fit, my Hector's hands would miss advancement to the gods with gifts, and therefore do not they miss his remembrance after death. Now let an old man pray thy graces. To receive this cup, and keep it for my love, nor leave me till the gods and thee have made my prayers approve Achilles' pity, by thy guide brought to his princely tent. Made my prayers approve Achilles' pity, have made my prayers approve Achilles' pity, by thy guide brought to his princely tent. Hermes replied, You tempt me now, old king, to a consent far from me, though youth aptly errs. I secretly received gifts that I cannot broadly vouch, take graces that I will give. I secretly receive gifts that I cannot broadly vouch, take graces that will give my lord dishonor, or what he knows not, or will esteem perhaps unfit, Such briberies perhaps at first may seem sweet and secure, but futurely they still prove sour and breed both fear and danger. I could wish thy grave affairs did need my guide to Argos. I could wish thy grave affairs did need my guide to Argos, either shipped or lacking by thy side, and would be studious in thy guard, so nothing could be tried, but care in me to keep thee safe. For that I could excuse and vouch to all men. So nothing could be tried but care in me to keep thee safe. For that I could excuse and vouch to all men. These words past, he put the deeds in use for which Jove sent him. Up he leapt to Priam's chariot, took scourge and reins, and blew in strength to his free steeds, and got the naval towers and deep dike straight. The guards were all at meet. These he and got the naval towers and deep dike straight. The guards were all at meat. Those he enslumbered, oped the ports, and in he safely let old Priam, with his wealthy prize. Forthwith they reached the tent of great Achilles, large and high, and in his most ascent a shaggy roof of seedy reeds moan from the meads. A hall of state they made their king in it. And strengthened it withal thick with fir rafters, whose approach was let in by a door that had but one bar, but so big that 3 men evermore raised it to shut, 3 fresh take down, which yet Iacides would shut and ope himself. And this with far more ease Hermes set ope, entering the king. Then leapt from horse and said, Now know, old king, that Mercury, a god, hath given this aid to thy endeavor, sent by Jove. And now away must I, for men would envy thy estate to see a deity affect a man thus. Enter thou, embrace Achilles' knee, and by his sire, son, mother, pray his ruth and grace to thee. This said, he high Olympus reached. The king then left his coach to grave Ideas, and went on, and made his resolved approach. and entered in a goodly room, where with his princes sate Jove loved Achilles at their feast, two only. Where with his princes sate Jove loved Achilles, with his princes sate, where with his princes sate Jove loved Achilles at their feast. Two only kept the state of his attendants, Alcimus and Lord Automedon at Priam's, and Alcimus and Lord Automedon, the state of his attendants, Alcimus and Lord Automedon at Priam's entry. A great time Achilles gazed upon his wondered. A great time Achilles gazed upon his wondered at approach, nor eat, the rest did nothing see. A great time Achilles gazed upon his wondered at approach, nor eat, the rest did nothing see, while he close came up, with his hands fast holding the bent knee of Hector's conqueror, and kissed that large man-slaughtering hand of Hector's conqueror, and kissed that large man-slaughtering hand that much blood from his sons had drawn. And as in some strange land and great man's house, a man is driven with that abhorred dismay that follows willful bloodshed still, his fortune being to slay one whose blood cries aloud for his, to plead protection in such a miserable plight as frights the lookers on, in such a stupefied estate Achilles sat to see, so unexpected, so in night, and so incredibly, old Priam's entry. All his friends on one another stared to see his strange looks, seeing no cause. Thus Priam then prepared his son's redemption. Come, loved daughter. Stared to see his strange looks, seeing no cause. Thus Priam then prepared his son's redemption. See in me, O godlike Thetis' son, thy aged father, and perhaps even now being outrun with some of my woes, and perhaps even now being outrun with some of my woes, neighbor foes, thou absent, taking time to do him mischief. No mean left to terrify the crime of his oppression. Yet he hears thy graces still survive, and joys to hear it, hoping still to see thee safe arrive from ruined Troy. But I, cursed man, of all my race shall live to see none living. 50 sons the deities did give my hopes to live in, all alive when near our trembling shore the Greek ships harbored, and one womb 19 of these sons bore. Ships harbored, and one womb 19 of these, and one womb 19 of those sons bore. Now Mars a number of their knees hath strengthless left, and he that was. Now Mars a number of their knees hath strengthless left, and he that was of all my only joy, and Troy's sole guard, by thee late fighting for his country, slain, whose tendered person now I come to ransom, whose tendered person now I come to ransom. Infinite is that I offer you, myself conferring it, exposed alone to all your odds, only imploring right of arms. Achilles, fear the gods, pity an old man like thy sire, different only in this, that I am wretcheder, and bear that weight of miseries that never man did. Only in this, that I am wretcheder, and bear that weight of miseries that man never did. My cursed lips enforced to kiss that hand that slew my children, that man never did. My cursed lips enforced to kiss that hand, enforced to kiss that hand that slew my children, enforced to kiss that hand that slew my children, to kiss that hand that slew my children. This moved to tears. This moved tears. His father's name did stand, mentioned by Priam, in much help to his compassion, and moved Iacides. In much help to his compassion, and moved Iacides so much, that he could not look upon, moved so much he could not look upon the weeping father. With his hand he gently put away his grave face. Calm remission now did mutually display her power in either's heaviness. Calm remission did now mutually display her power in either's heaviness. Mutually display her power in either's heaviness. Old Priam, to record his son's death and his deathsmen see, his tears and his deathsmen see, his death and his deathsmen see, his tears and bosom poured before Achilles. At his feet he laid his reverend head. Before Achilles, old Priam, to record his son's death and his deathsmen see, his tears and bosom poured before Achilles. At his feet he laid his reverend head. Achilles' thoughts now with his sire, now with his friend were fed. Betwixt both Achilles' thoughts, now with his sire, now with his friend were fed. Betwixt both sorrow filled the tent. But now Iacides, satiate at all parts with the ruth of their calamities, start up, and up he raised the king, his milk-white head and beard, with pity he beheld, and said, let us ask some prophet, and said, poor man, thy mind is scared with much affliction. How durst thy person thus alone venture on his sight that has slain so many a worthy son, and so dear to thee? Thy old heart is made of iron. Sit and settle we our woes, though huge, for nothing profits it. Cold morning wastes but our lives' heats. The gods have destined that wretched mortals must live sad. That wretched mortals must live sad. 'Tis the immortal state of deity that lives secure. 2 tons of gifts there lie in Jove's gate, one of good, one ill, that our mortality maintains spoil order. One ill, that our mortality maintain spoil order. That our mortality maintain spoil order, which when Jove doth mix to any man, one while he frolics, one while mourns. If of his mournful can a man drinks only wrongs he doth expose him to. Sad hunger in the abundant earth doth toss him to and fro, respected nor of gods nor men. The mixed cup Peleus drank, even from his birth. Heaven blessed his life, he lived not, even from his birth. Heaven blessed his life. He lived not that he could thank the gods for such rare benefits as set forth his estate. He reigned among his myrmidons most rich, most fortunate, though a mortal had his bed decked with a deathless dame. And yet with all this good, one ill God mixed, that takes all name from all that goodness. His name now, whose preservation here men count the crown of their most good, not blessed with power to bear one blossom but myself. Not blessed with power to bear one blossom but myself. And I, shaken as good as blown. Blossom but myself. And I, shaken as soon as blown. Nor shall I live to cheer his age, and give nutrition to him that nourished me. Far off, my rest is set in Troy, to leave thee restless. Far off my rest is set in Troy, to leave thee restless, and thy seed, thyself that did enjoy, as we have heard, a happy life, what Lesbos doth contain, in times past, being a blessed man's seat, what the unmeasured main of Hellespontus, Phrygia holds, are all said to adorn thy empire, wealth and sons enow, thy empire, wealth and sons enow. But when the gods did turn thy blessed state to partake with bane, war and the bloods of men circled thy city. Thy blessed estate to partake with bane, war and the bloods of men circled thy city, never clear. Sit down and suffer then, mourn not inevitable things. Thy tears can spring no deeds to help thee, nor recall thy son. Thy tears can spring no deeds to help thee, nor recall thy son. Impatience ever breeds ill upon ill, makes worse things worse. Ill upon ill, makes worse things worse, and therefore sit. Makes worse things worse, and therefore sit. Makes worse things worse, and therefore sit. He said, give me no seat, great seat of Jove, when yet unransomed Hector lies rightless in thy tents. But deign with utmost speed his resignation, that these that these eyes may see his person freed, and thy grace satisfied with gifts. Accept what I have brought, and turn to Phthia. 'Tis enough thy conquering hand hath fought till Hector faltered under it. 'Tis enough thy conquering hand hath fought till Hector faltered under it, and Hector's father stood with free humanity safe. And Hector's father stood with free humanity, and Hector's father stood with free humanity safe. Stood with free humanity safe. He frowned and said, he frowned. With free humanity safe. Father stood with free humanity safe. He frowned and said, Give not my blood fresh cause of fury. I know well I must resign thy son. Jove by my mother uttered it. Give not my blood fresh cause of fury. I know well I must resign thy son. Jove by my mother uttered it. And what besides is done, I know as amply. And thyself, old Priam, I know. And what besides is done, I know as amply. And thyself, old Priam, I know too. Some god hath brought thee. For no man durst use a thought to go on such a service. I have guards, and I have gates to stay easy accesses. Do not then presume thy will can sway like Jove's will, and incense again my quenched blood, lest nor thou nor my quenched blood, and incense again my quenched blood, lest nor thou nor Jove get the command of thee, nor Jove get the command of me. This made the old king bow, and sat he down in fear. The prince leapt like a lion forth, Automedon and Alcimus attending. All the worth brought for the body they took down and brought in, and with it Idaeus, herald to the king. All the worth brought for the body they took down and brought in, and with it Idaeus, herald to the king. A coat embroidered yet, and 2 rich cloaks they left to hide the person. Thetis' son called out his women to anoint and quickly overrun the course with water, lifting it in private to the coach, lest Priam saw, and his cold blood embraced a fiery touch of anger at the turpitude profaning it, and blew again his wrath's fire to his death. This done, his women threw the coat and cloak on, but the corse Achilles' own hand laid upon a bed, and with his friends to chariot it conveyed. For which forced grace, abhorring so from his free mind, he wept, cried out for anger, and thus prayed, O friend, do not accept against this favor to our foe. If in the deep thou hear, and I give him to his sire. He gave fair ransom, dear in my observance is Jove's will. And whatsoever part of all these gifts by any mean I fitly may convert to thy renown here, and will there it shall be poor, and will there it shall be poured upon thy honored sepulchre. And will there it shall be and will there it shall be poured upon, and will there it shall be poured upon thy honored sepulchre. Convert to thy renown here, and will there it shall be poured upon thy honored sepulchre. This said, upon thy honored sepulchre. This said, he went, and what was done told Priam, saying, Father, now thy will's fit rights are paid, thy son is given up. In the morn thine eyes shall see him laid, decked in thy chariot on his bed, on his bed. In mean space let us eat. The rich-haired Niobe found thoughts that made her take her meat, though 12 dear children she saw slain, 6 daughters, 6 young sons. The sons incensed Apollo slew, the maids confusions Diana wrought, since Niobe her merits durst compare with great Latona's, arguing that she did only bear 2 children, and herself had 12, for which those only two slew all her 12. 9 days they lay steeped in their blood. Her woe found no friend to afford them fire. Saturnius had turned humans to stones. The 10th day yet the good celestials burned the trunks themselves, and Niobe, when she was tired with tears, fell to her food. And now with rocks and wild hills mixed, she bears in Sipylus the god's wrath still, in that place where 'tis said the goddess fairies used to dance about the funeral bed of Achelous. Where, though turned with grief to a stone, with cold grief to a stone, heaven gives her heat enough to feel what plague comparison with his powers made by earth deserves. Affect not then too far without grief, like a god being a man. But for a man's life care, and take fit food. Thou shalt have time beside to mourn thy son. He shall be tearful, though being full. Be tearful, thou being full, not here, but Ilion, seeing thee. Not here, but Ilion shall find thee weeping rooms enow. And take fit food. Thou shalt have time beside to mourn thy son. He shall be tearful, thou being full. Not here, but Ilion shall find thee weeping rooms enow.